Sorry about this, but this film review may contain plot spoilers, and does contain plot spoilers. Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a review of Pier Paolo Pasolini's Salò, or Salò. I think it's Salò, not quite sure. The first, I'll review this Blu-ray edition that I've got. It is the BFI 3-disc special edition, dual format edition. It includes the film in high definition and standard definition, 5 documentaries which I have watched every single one of them, and a little booklet with information and essays on the actual film itself. All of the documentaries are incredibly interesting, and I actually thought the transfer of the film was very, very good. That also kind of surprised me. I'm not familiar with the BFI Blu-rays, but this one is the first one that I've gotten, and I've got Tokyo Story as well, but I'm quite happy with this as a addition to have to my collection. Salò is the tale of a group of fascists, four fascist people, who take control of around 18 teenagers in the place of Salò, and then subject them to their torment, torture, sexual desire, sexual depravity, and basically they just have power over them. Yeah, this film's bloody hard to watch. Now, this was the first Pasolini film that I've actually seen. I own a copy of Akatone, but I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what his viewpoints and how good that film actually is. This film, however, I really, really liked. Well, liked may not be the right word. Appreciated and respected, and I was kind of blown away by it because it's just incredible when you start to think about everything that's within it. The thing that kind of separates this from the genre of extreme cinema is that extreme cinema kind of glorifies and is kind of like a pornographic, representation or take on slasher, horror films, gore films. When you look at trash cinema as well, that's done in a completely different fashion. Films like Pink Flamingos, which just have people eating poo and stuff like that because it's shocking and trashy. This definitely isn't. And everything in this film is a metaphor and should be watched as a metaphor. When I watched this film, I wasn't aware of Pasolini's standpoint on politics. I'm not familiar with the Italian politics of the time and what he's talking about. I'm not completely familiar at all, and I haven't read anything about it. I also haven't read the source material, which is the 120 Days of Sodom. I've forgotten who that's written by, but Pasolini based this film around his text, and similar things occur in the texts within the film, or so I am to believe. As I said, that modern torture porn is like pornographic violence. It's very close up, very in your face. You see every detail of the violence. This film is completely different and should not be subjected to the title of being a pornographic film. In fact, the BBFC, the head of the BBFC, chose to keep this film in the cinemas because he thought it wasn't a pornographic film. It's part of cinema history, and it's a very incredibly important film as well. Now, as I keep saying about this kind of pornographic exploitation, this actually got criticised for being a pornographic film, which it isn't, because pretty much the whole film stays away from close-ups and having the camera close to sexual organs and areas of the body. When sex is on the screen, it's never glorified either. The camera's always really, really far away from everything. And so you can see it happening and you're aware of it happening, but you don't revel in it happening like you might do if you're watching a porno. So everything is at a distance, and this is one of the most interesting things for me about the film. It makes it even harder to watch because it doesn't bring you in at all to any of the people within the film. All the close-ups pretty much within the film are of the fascists, and Pasolini is almost wanting you to, he's showing you purposefully the fascist faces and the people there, but you only see occasional shots of the victims' faces, and you're never really given any guidance to go with any of the characters that are being tormented and subjected to violence and sexual violence, which just kind of is really, really hard for a viewer. Like, I've never been subjected like that. It was almost like I've been made to watch something I don't want to, but it's bearable because it isn't close up and gratuitous. I mean, it is an incredibly gratuitous film, but it's done in such a way that can be forgiven because it keeps you away from it. Now, the most famous part of this film probably will be the shit eating. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like and exactly what it says on the tin. The film's kind of broken into 3 different sections. I've forgotten what the first one is, but the second one is the circle of shit, and the third one is the circle of blood. I think that's what it is. And yeah, so about halfway through the film, there is discussion from one of the prostitutes within the film, talking about a kind of erotic experience of her life to do with poo, which is disturbing in itself. The way that the only part of the film that I could actually almost class as sexual, being sexual for lust or whatever, would be the stories that the prostitutes that the fascists hire to tell to them. What I mean here is the way that they tell the stories is almost like an erotic kind of dictation of what's happening. The stories themselves, the content, is incredibly disturbing and disgusting, but the way that they say it is almost glorifying the fact, and the fact that all of the prostitutes are fine with the stories that they're telling adds another level of disturbing presence to the stories themselves. Now, the circle of shit starts off when one of them talks about eating somebody's poo, and I've read around, and the poo scenes in this were intended the intent for the poo scenes by Pasolini was a kind of representation of processed foods within the consumerism and capitalist market. So, and the whole kind of point of the film is the degradation of human beings, and the humans are a means to an end. They're not people. They're more like a factory processing the food, which is quite interesting. But it's not. I don't think it's the main point. I thought the most important part of this film, even though I might be incredibly wrong here, I feel that the most important part of the film is the sexual nature within it. How it stays away. It shows you the worst and most disgusting and disturbing things you could ever probably think or imagine, and it just keeps you away from it, and it explores these twisted and broken men who have power and are able to manipulate and live through their disgusting fantasies. When I finished watching this film, I was kind of blown away. I took a step back and had to sit and try and think about what I'd just witnessed as one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. But it wasn't a bad film. There was a lot in the film which was good, which is all the messages and subtext, and there's loads and loads of that, and I think it's really well done. But there are some really bizarre scenes. I think there was a quote at the start of the film that anything in excess is good. And I think this quote is kind of a statement about the film itself. Now, I don't want to compare Pasolini to Quentin Tarantino, but at the end of Inglourious Basterds, when Tarantino says, you know what, this might just be my masterpiece. This film starts off, and one of the quotes in the start of the film is, anything in excess is good. And I think that is a comment about the film itself. The excess of the nature of the film, the violence, and the glorification. Oh, that's not even. Sorry, no, there's no glorification. The extreme graphic things that we see within the film go to the worst of the worst, the highest extreme, and the sexual disturbance has gone to its excess, and because it's gone to its excess, all of the subtext within the film has been made viable and works with that. So I think the comment about excess at the start of the film is actually a comment about the film as a whole, that it is a hard film to sit through and people won't enjoy it, and it's grueling and disgusting and disturbing. But at the end of the day, the film is a good film. It's technically proficient. It does what it set out to do. It gets people's attention and gets them thinking about things. It has lots of different meanings within the film. This is another film where you're meant to think about what you're seeing. You're not meant to just take it on face value, oh, this is what's happening. And that is where the film really, really shines. If I haven't already highlighted that already, that's what I admire about this film. And the excess in the film kind of makes the film, like, it's hard to watch and it's not the nicest thing, but if it wasn't there, the film wouldn't be the same, and all these messages within the film wouldn't be taken as seriously if the excessive sexual nature of the film wasn't there. I also really quite admired the soundtrack in this film. There are some really, really nice pieces of music. I think two pieces by Chopin and a piece from the Carmina Burana, which I've sang before. And when I sang the piece, I thought it was like it's to me it's the nicest piece within the Carmina Burana, and it really did take that piece, and having sung that piece and enjoyed singing it, having that piece over the top of the torture and torment at the end of the film was almost like, it almost broke my appreciation of the music. And I kind of looked into it a little bit, and apparently Pasolini said that the Carmina Burana was part of a capitalist and corporate kind of government thing. It was very political. According to Pasolini, it was a political reading and was enforcing different opinions and stuff. Now, I don't know all of the text in the Carmina Burana, having sung it, but I didn't look into it much. I have to say that I probably should have, but I was singing it with a chorus and the phrasing of the music, and it's really nice music. But to have that at the end of the film with the violence that we are witnessing, it's just absurd, and it's incredibly hard to sit through. And what I really liked about this film, this is going to sound really stupid, but it was the start of the film, the very, very beginning, with the music playing over the top of the credits. And the credits is done in such a way, in a style, there's a white background, but it's not quite white, it's cream, and it looks, I don't really know how to say this, but it looks almost beautiful in its own way, with this nice kind of weird classical music over the top. It was just really weird, and it really got my attention. I put the film in and I started watching it. The menu of this is also kind of stupid, but the menu on the Blu-ray was really inviting, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I recommend you watch this film. I recommend a lot of people should watch this film, but if you think you're not going to be able to subject yourself to the massively perverse scenes of sexual violence and violence, then you probably shouldn't watch the film. But it is a film that everyone should really see if they are interested in cinema. And like I said, I started off to like the film. I was a bit disturbed by the stuff within the film, and then at the end of the film, after thinking about what I just watched and just remembering everything, putting everything into action and context, it was just incredible. So I do recommend this film highly. So yeah, that's been my review of Salò. Thank you for watching.